I'm here as a mother, as a Norker, as a first-generation Puerto Rican born here, even though I have American citizen rights because of the relationship of the colony. I'm here with written notes because I knew this was going to happen to me today. Because you know what my biggest fear is? That this happens inside of a classroom. Okay, I'm going to get it together. This isn't about us and them. This is about this country. Do you know how many families and people run from fear where they were born and raised, where they're leaving generations of family members to come here to seek protection, opportunity, another day to improve the quality of lives for themselves, running from fear to end up in fear? This isn't America.
The question is, and this is the real question America as a country has to answer. So people running from fear south of the border. There's people running from fear all over the world, all over the world. And the question is, how come America doesn't take in everybody? How come everybody running from fear isn't allowed to just come here, right? So it's not that there's no sympathy for people running from fear. The question is, how many people are allowed to come into the country undocumented and how many people are not? Where is the parameter? That's, I think, the biggest question. And I think that emotion is one thing, but the other side of it is logically, where is the parameter? And I think that that's something that wasn't something that was dealt with last administration. If America doesn't provide a parameter, then the argument would be that anybody who is seeking asylum or running from anything in their home country should be able to come here, be here, and then we'll figure out their status later. And I think that in and of itself is the immigration problem. So at a certain point, you got to erase the emotion from it and say to yourself, how is this immigration, how is it supposed to be dealt with? Because during the last administration, we just had quadruple amount of people coming here. And these issues are not solved. So America, if that's the case, then America should just not have borders. You should just be able to come in wherever you want. And other countries, I should be able to say, you know what, as a black man, I can't make it in America. It's just too crazy. I'm not getting what I need to get. I should just be able to go into another country that I feel is going to be better for me. And I should just be able to show up and I'll figure out my status later. But you know what'll happen? They won't allow me to do that. They're going to say, no, you need a visa. Why are you here? Then they get to decide whether I get to stay, especially if I go in illegally and I just go, I'll probably end up in jail.
My nose is running. Anybody have a tissue? New Jersey should codify the AG's trust directive. And as co-sponsors of that bill, we will work diligently to be sure that there is a process in place. Because what has transpired has just created confusion. I would love to get some kind of marker today as to how many people didn't show up to work and what that does. How many school children are missing a day of academic success and growth because their parent was afraid to get on a bus and get in front of a school and drop their child off? I would like to see that impact. You see, some of you don't know what my dream is. My dream is to go play the Powerball and win. Not solely for me, although some of it. But if I could afford to cover and feel every undocumented family, make them safe for a day or two and just say, I got your back monetarily, I got your back legally, I got your back with policy and protection, but I don't want you to show up to work. Just so this country can see that their tropes and stereotypes are detrimental to the success of our communities, of this nation.
And again, that's the strange part. The strange part is that we have to decide as Americans, either we decide that we don't have immigration law or we do. One or the other. Because what she's essentially saying is that all the parents that have kids that didn't show up because they were scared to get on the bus, or they were scared to get in the car and drive their kids to school, or they were scared to come to work. The question is, are those people that she's referring to, are they people who just came into the country and are not legal? The question is, should they ever have to be legal? Is there any accountability as to what they should have to do to be in this country? That is a major, major question. And to keep avoiding that is strange. It's just like, okay, if she won the Powerball, good. That'd be great if she won the Powerball. I could say the same thing. Like, for instance, you have refugees. My family's from West Africa, so we have Ghana, but there's other countries in and around the West Africa that have had refugees. You had refugees in Sudan, for instance. Why? How come all of them can't just come over here? How come they can't all get on the plane? If you had one rich Sudanese person or one rich Ghanaian person, a Nigerian person, or whatever, and said, I'm going to get a plane ticket for all these people to land at JFK to come and live here. Then I want to see all the people who are crying right now. I want to see if they would let all the people come into JFK from Africa. Hell no. They'd be like, nope. Then everybody would see it different. So it's not about some hatred for people south of the border. It's not some hatred. The reality is we have to decide how we're going to function as a mechanism. So if you have parents who are scared, I'm not scared to take my kids to school. I shouldn't have to be scared to take my kids to school because I'm legal. People who are legal or have a visa or are working on their citizenship shouldn't be scared. But the reality is that is it Americans' responsibility to take in or absorb populations? And if it is our responsibility, what is the parameter for the number of people that we should absorb? And until you figure out that question, all we're doing is playing with emotion.
Even be able to run for something else one day. But the thing is that our children, as Senator Ruiz said, are not the culpable ones. They shouldn't be going to school in fear. 50% of appointments that are made at some of our FQHCs since yesterday to today have had cancellations. We need to make sure that our neighbors understand that they are fearful, and that's okay. But we cannot live in fear. We have to help them, and we are here to support them. I live in the Ironbound. I know where my neighbors are.
Why are people living in fear? I don't understand. That's what I'm saying. I just want to understand why people are living in fear. Because if you're here, you're not legal, and you came in the wrong way, is it wrong for you to live in fear? I think that you probably would be living in fear. However, in the other administration where nothing was ever going to happen, of course, you didn't really worry. You would come here. There's no repercussions. There's no repercussions to come to America because no one is going to do anything. You can be here illegally. You can stay here as long as you want. And there's no protocol. So if you lived under that type of regime, of course, you would not live in fear. But if you lived under a president, and again, this isn't hyping up or caping for Donald Trump. If you lived under a president who said, no, I'm going to actually follow the law. And anybody who's not here legally, I'm going to start reversing that process and getting them out of here. That's going to make you live in fear. But the question is that in and of itself wrong? Is it wrong to follow the actual immigration laws that we have? That's the part I'm trying to get clarity on from everybody who's worried.
But one thing we're saying in church, look to your neighbor and say, I love you. Or look to, and you're sitting next to a brother or a sister. Guess what? We don't have to bleed and look the same exact way, but we are here today as brothers and sisters in support of our brothers and sisters. It's not them against us. It's not them against us. It's all of us together. And with the leadership of our mayor, we know that ICE have messed with the wrong city. He will not stand down. And Mayor, thank you so much for your leadership. We will continue to support anything that you need to do when it comes to getting ICE out of our city. You definitely have my support. Thank you so much.
I'd just like to let them know you have our support. And one thing about it, we have a bill in the Assembly and in the Senate. We're going to pass that bill because you have three in the Assembly. We're not just the average people in the Assembly. We're called the hell raisers in the Assembly. And we have our Senate That's another hellraiser. So we have to let you know that Essex County, we got your back. We're going to do everything possible. We're going to get this bill passed. And we're just here to say that we're going to just work as hard as we can just to let them know what New Jersey can do and what the city of Newark can do. Thank you.
Thank you.
I want to understand again. I'm not vehemently against anybody who's seeking asylum, right? From a human perspective. But the question is, immigration is an issue, and we do know that Donald Trump wanted to get rid of people who are not here legally. So I want to understand, what is it that people want to happen? For instance, I want to understand what Ras Baraka. I like Ras Baraka. I want to understand what he wants to happen.
Because in Newark, we know that it's not one person's problem. It's all 300,000+ of our problems. We did a training in schools, and we had to debate with 3- and 4-year-olds and infants and toddlers what the code was going to be. Is this going to be an active shooter code? Is this going to be a shelter-in-place code? What are we going to do? Will they leave their guns in the lobby, or will they bring their guns with them into our classrooms? These are the real questions that we as providers, we are not politicians. Our arena is service and the community, but we know that here are elected officials. I've been blessed to be a leader and a nonprofit leader in a lot of different places, and you have to tell the elected officials about your organization. In this city, they tell me about the legacy of La Casa de Don Pedro.
And this is not a us versus them thing. I don't think that, as a U.S. citizen, I just sit back and I say, it's unfortunate. I don't sit back. I'm not cheering for people to be arrested. I don't think it's a joyous thing. But I do think it's something that, again, if I decided I was going to go right now and just show up in another country, people may like me as their neighbor. They may say, hey, this guy's a great guy and all that stuff. But one day their version of ICE could pick me up. I mean, I don't know what people really expect. You know what I'm saying? This isn't about a human issue so much. It's really more of a legal issue. And if it's not going to be a legal issue, people who are annoyed or scared, or have disagreement with what ICE is doing, I love to just understand, well, what is it that they want? I respect somebody who said, yo, whoever's here illegally, just leave them alone. Let them live their life. Let them figure it out. I'm trying to understand the position, I think, is my thing. I love to understand people's position. My position as a U.S. citizen is really, I'm a bystander. I don't think I would be sitting up here, being angry because they came into my city. I think it's more of a thing of, are you doing it humanely? Are you putting innocent bystanders in danger? Right? That, to me, that's something, and are the people that you're capturing, are they illegal? And if they are illegal, I don't know how I could justify being angry. I don't know what I'm angry. I don't know what I'd be angry for, as a U.S. citizen. I live in the country, and there's plenty of people who live here who came in, came in a way and spent the long route to become a citizen, right? So it can't just be that we feel outraged simply because people are being deported. There are going to be people deported because they came in the wrong way. Not because they're bad people, not because we hate Latinos, not because they did something that people don't like, not because they, something personal. It's because they essentially came into a country illegally. And that's really what it comes down to. The last administration certainly wasn't going to do anything about it. And I think as Americans, we're so used to that. We're so used to it. And that's why people come here. People don't sneak it. I mean, I do believe America's, one of the best countries, if not the best. But, we also are a country that we really aren't swift when it comes to justice. Our justice runs really, really slow. So there's a lot of incentive to come here typically, because when you come into America, Nothing's going to happen to you. You could be here for a long time, even under the worst circumstances. Even some people who have committed crimes and who are no good are still able to be here for a long time before they actually get caught up. 7 years, 6 years, 5 years, sometimes, longer. But people are here a long time under the worst circumstances in many cases. So we're just used to letting everything slide. And at some point, we have to say to ourselves, what's your position? Is everything a go? Is everything, you let everything slide? Or what is the law? What's the parameter? Like I said, what are we going to decide is too much, too little to absorb anyone coming into the country illegally?
Most of us around here are going to retire, but our kids are going to move forward each and every one of us legacy. So it is very important that we understand the impact that this have on our children. So I am asking and pleading everyone to let's bind together. I love Amy's organization. We've been working with them on a Know Your Rights training. They were at our office, many times talking to us. As a team, I would say, La Casa and myself, we've been preparing for this for a very long time. And folks who told us that it wasn't coming, we just looked at them like, I can't convince you that this is coming, but I'm going to be prepared when it's come. So let's bind together. Let's understand where the resources is, and let's ensure our community understand what their rights are. That's very important. You have rights as a citizen, as a non-citizen, as someone who lives, works, and brings money into our economy. You do have a right. As a human, you have a right. Let's take away all the politics. Just as a human right, you have a right as a human.
See, that's the problem. This is not a human rights issue. And that's the thing about immigration, illegal immigration. It's not a human rights issue. These are not human rights violations for people to be picked up. And I think that's where this conversation is becoming something that it shouldn't be. It's not a human rights issue. And I think at the end of the day, this is what people who are, against it or feeling angry about it. I think it's turning into something that people want to see as a human rights or civil rights issue. And this doesn't have anything to do with U.S. citizens. It just doesn't. It doesn't have anything to do with it. If you are here legally, what does it have to do with you if people are being arrested, other than the fact that you may have someone who's not legal, right, who is amongst you? But what does it have to do with you? It's the same as if you had someone who committed a crime sitting amongst you who had a warrant and someone coming to, arrest this person. What does it have to do with you? What is it that you as a U.S. citizen did wrong or have to be stressing about in the morning? I'm not stressed when I get up in the morning. My kids are young. They go to school. Why would I be worried about them going to school and whoever is illegal? They shouldn't be working in the school. But I think this is more about the children of illegal immigrants. And look, again, it is a sad situation, but I don't know what to say about it. I think if I took my kids and we just went into another country and I knew I wasn't legal, I know that there are repercussions for that. And again, if you're used to there being no repercussions, we're human. So when we get used to we get used to no repercussions happening. When repercussions happen, we just can't deal with it. We just feel like we're being wronged. It just feels like unnatural because we're used to nothing happening.